Why is it that anytime anything negative or actually realistic is mentioned about Brexit, it's labelled as Project Fear? It's not Project Fear to be realistic about a situation. And personally, this is just me, I hate it when politicians like Charlie Elphrick, my local MP, comes out and says, "We'll get through because we're British." Okay, now I've said on other platforms I'm not a patriot. And the reason I'm not a patriot is because I didn't choose where I was born. I don't think if you're British, you're better than someone who was born in France. I think you're British because you were born here, and they're French because they were born in France. Now, there are certainly countries that have better economic standings. There are certainly countries, certainly countries that have better standards of living. But that doesn't make a nation better than another. So whenever someone says, "We'll get through because we're British," that really just says one thing to me. Hey, don't focus on anything. Here's a little bit of national pride. Get distracted with that and stop asking questions. Now, to his credit, and I can't see myself saying this quite a lot, Dominic Raab has been in Brussels a fair bit making these deals. But then it's also very important to know the kind of person that Raab is. He's publicly said he does not believe in human rights. He does not want human rights. He does not want workers' rights. He thinks that the idea of an NHS is childish. And I'm quoting him with childish. Now, if you go into the studies, if you look at the research, if you look at economic booms and everything else with government expenditure, every single time a single payer healthcare service like the NHS saves a country money. Sometimes it's a little bit of money, most of the time it's a fair old whack. There's a lot of different reasons for this, but the simple fact that a politician who has an incredibly important job, very, very high up in the cabinet, doesn't understand that a single payer healthcare service saves the country money is concerning. It's also concerning when people are saying about stockpiling pharmaceuticals for the NHS, which he's also come out and said. Now, you can talk it down and say six weeks isn't a long term. The fact is, I actually want people to say, it's a smart thing to do. We don't think it's going to go bad, but we need to have these plans in case something does go bad, because it's our job to look after this country. That's what I want people to say. What I don't want people to say is, Project Fear, stop worrying about it, because that doesn't help. Especially when you have reports coming from my local council saying they're concerned because there has been nothing from central government about what could and in all likelihood will happen in a no-deal Brexit scenario, with my local town at least. For the last 3 or 4 years, there's been at least one day in the year where Dover has come to a standstill. And that's because at the other end of the channel, things have stopped, things have been slowed down. Not always come to a crashing halt, but they have slowed down significantly enough so that people travelling to France, either for work or for pleasure, that's all been a backlog. And that does have a massive effect in Dover. Operation Stack turns the M20 into a makeshift car park. Now, they're looking at making this into a makeshift lorry park, but the M20 is not a vacant bit of tarmac. It's used. And when it's used for Operation Stack, there is a massive overflow everywhere else. So when it comes to a no-deal Brexit, which is something that every single politician in every single area needs to make preparations for, that in turn has a massive negative backlash on communities. We need more people saying, hey, this is the absolute worst that could happen, and then building contingencies on it. People in the docks have already said, no, we have a massive problem here, this needs to be sorted out, but it's whitewashed as Project Fear. Again, it's not fear-mongering, being realistic about a situation. It is going to cost more to import into this country if we do not get a deal with Europe. We either use the loophole that we've used for years now, which is the EU, or we are beholden to WTO rules, which will cost us more. Half the food this country consumes comes from abroad. Yes, you can change that, you can start growing locally, but in 2 years, those plans haven't been made. In 2 years, all they've done is sit on their hands. Now with some, I think 8 months left, just saying, oh no, Project Fear, don't listen to that, is not good enough. We should demand better. We deserve better. Because if this does all go wrong, it's not Theresa May or Dominic Raab or Matt Hancock who will suffer. It's sure as hell not David Cameron, because they're all wealthy millionaires. It's you and me. The people who have been told, Project Fear, don't listen to it. No. If you're a politician, you need to make plans. Your duty is to serve the country. You're not serving it by whitewashing any problems.